Good evening. I am the narrator, and welcome to my parlor. Tonight I discuss Marinette County as window area. Marinette County is a rural county in northeast Wisconsin, north of Green Bay and across the bridge from Upper Michigan. Its county seat is Marinette, and it includes other small towns: Peshtigo, Crivitz, Athelstane, Menominee, Woosaki, among others. My father and my uncles were born and raised in Marinette, and we go there on Memorial Day and on weekends. It's not well known to Forteans. I believe it's a minor window area and merits discussion. I've had a number of experiences there going back decades. Granite, which is electromagnetically conductive, underlays the soil. Electromagnetic fields are associated with Fortean phenomena. One Friday night, when I was very young, I was at the cabin with my father and grandfather. They were indoors. I was outside, peering into the woods. There I noticed a small thicket on a slope in the distance. A face appeared therein, with round eyes and a button nose. A small tail appeared behind it. It looked like a small cartoon animal. It looked at me slyly, smiled, then vanished. I spun and ran back inside and told my father. I wasn't afraid, just confused and excited. One experience wasn't at the cabin, but in the woods nearby. It was a Saturday night. The sun was about to set. My father and I had been fishing and were about to go. While turning to our truck, a woman appeared on horseback in British fox hunting clothes. She stared at us like we weren't to be there, like we were intruders. This was northern Wisconsin, not Britain. There were and are no stables in the area. No locals can afford horses, and there are no trails where one could walk. The horse itself looked excellent. Its coat gleamed, despite being in the woods. Moreover, we had heard no hooves, no branches bending, or any other sounds of their approaching. We turned and entered the truck, then looked back through the windshield. They were gone without a trace. Just seconds had passed. They would still have been visible, and again we would have heard hooves. They vanished as they appeared. The county is home to McClintock Park, known for its bridges and campgrounds. I've read that orbs have been sighted there. They may or may not have been. No one has told me personally, and I don't know the source for the claim. I will just share my and my relatives' experiences. One Saturday afternoon in summer 2011, a friend and I were hiking through the back acres. There, across a bridge from the main section, and few go there. In most ways, the hike was pleasant. Gradually, however, what Jenny Randalls calls the Oz factor began. Natural sounds, the air, the stream, the crickets, ceased. Time itself seemed to. I felt like we had been there for hours, though it had been 20 minutes at most. I began to feel a presence, like we were being watched, followed, listened to. It was like at my childhood home and my grandfather's home, though not as bad. I didn't feel like my thoughts were being read, and it just felt strange, not malevolent. I felt like someone would appear at any time. Eventually, we turned back for the main area. As soon as we crossed the bridge, the feeling left and the sounds returned. Again, though it had felt like hours, only about 20 minutes had passed. I returned one time a number of years later, on a Sunday afternoon. This time I went alone. The day was gray and overcast. It was the same, yet different. Again, sound and time were absent, but this time it felt malevolent. Maybe just because of the gray. I didn't feel watched and followed, just noticed. Natural things began to look different. Branches looked like arms, twigs like digits, rocks like faces and internal organs. Eventually I spun and hastened back. Again, it was all back to normal as soon as I crossed the bridge. On a weeknight in summer 1997, my father was fishing there alone. The sun was about to set. Gradually, he began to feel he was being watched and resented. The night had been slow anyway, so he turned and went. It was like the woman on the horse, where we were made to feel like intruders. I wonder if the same intelligence was at work in both incidents. Maybe this time it just didn't manifest visually. One summer day in the early 2010s, a cousin and I were standing in the parking lot. We were the only ones there, had just arrived, and had yet to enter the woods. Gradually, we noticed a sound coming from them, a simple melody played on flute. 3 or 4 sustained notes, droning, monotonous. We looked to each other and asked, "What's that?" We weren't scared, just confused. It didn't grow louder or quieter as one would expect as the musician nears or drifts. The volume stayed the same until it eventually ceased. This phenomenon is called phantom music. It often sounds like flute and is heard in the woods. One time, my father and I were sleeping at our cabin, about 20 minutes from the park. It was again a summer night, a Saturday. We were standing at the foot of our driveway and looking down the road. I don't remember why. Suddenly we noticed a cluster of small twinkling red lights a ways ahead on the roadside. It was eye level and about 5 feet tall, I think, like Christmas lights without the tree. It seemed to have appeared from thin air. We watched for 10 minutes or so, then went back. The next night it was gone and hasn't returned since. One weekday afternoon in May 2020, we went for a day trip. On our way back, I was looking out the back seat window, watching the scenery. We passed a farmer's field where 2 trees, taller than a man but not that tall, bordered the roadside. I saw what I can only call a Bigfoot shadow person standing in front of them. It was entirely black, two-dimensional, and lacking distinct details. It was reaching upward and backward, like a pitcher about to throw a ball. I saw it only in profile and don't think it saw me. Oddly, I quickly forgot it and didn't realize its sheer strangeness until it returned to my thoughts at random a week or so later. This kind of delayed response is not uncommon. One Friday night, I was sitting at a bar in Athelstane, about 10 minutes from my cabin. It was about 9 p.m. The regulars saw a black shadow figure dash across the gravel lot across the street, then fade into the darkness. I saw it only in my peripherals and wasn't sure what it was at first. Mostly I saw their reaction. Fascinated, I asked, and they took it in stride. They were used to it, having seen it or something similar before. My latest experience was just last fall. Again, I was at the cabin. It was the middle of the night, and I was awake watching DVDs. I went down from the loft and opened the back door to step outside for fresh air and to light a joint when I heard sounds from the forest. A mechanical hum like an engine, and screams like those of a young man in duress. They sounded artificial, like a recording. There was no sound of struggle, no thrashing, no bending branches. I had heard of this before, artificial sounds and screams. Feigning duress, ostensibly as a lure. I panicked, slammed and locked the door, then went back up to my loft. Sometime in the mid-2010s, my father and I were staying the weekend. On Saturday morning, he awoke to a vision of a creature with a human-like head, face, and body, like an aquatic mammal. It was laying on its stomach, unable to move. Its fins looked like they had been stomped and crushed. Shaking and seeming very afraid, it looked, saw my father, and seemed afraid of him, like he would continue its abuse. He told me he felt like he was shown this, as if for a moral lesson. The image faded, and he was again in his bedroom. In August 2023, he was staying the weekend alone. He woke on Saturday morning to the sound of water splashing in the cabin, only there was no water to be splashed. The squirrel that was living there seemed to have heard it too. It ran across the floor and into the wall. If anyone is familiar with the area, has had experiences there, or has had similar experiences anywhere, and would like to discuss them on my channel, feel free to email me at tparish1, all lowercase, @new.rr.com.